Welcome into the PFF NFL Daily. Today discussing the Philadelphia Eagles. They're trending, Sam. They're trending in the right direction after their win against the New Orleans Saints. We're going to ask the question, can the Eagles be that team that makes a playoff push? They're sitting there at 5-6, but of course, the bottom half of the NFC playoff picture, it's wide open. So, Sam, what are your thoughts on the Eagles making a little playoff run here?
Yeah, I think they're going to make the playoffs. And honestly, the biggest kind of thought I have is that if they had just realized what their identity was, week one, given that it was fairly obvious heading into the season, instead of like accidentally stumbling upon it 7 or 8 weeks into the year, I mean, they might be one of the teams to beat this season. But yeah, if you look at you go to the PFF power rankings and you get the odds of each team making the playoffs right now, we have them with a 36% chance of making the playoffs, but we have them with the 32nd or easiest schedule from here on in. I think that's why I actually think they have a really good chance of doing it. I ran up one of those, playoff simulating machines where you enter all the scores that you think it's going to be over the rest of the season and see what happens. I have the Eagles making it as the 6th seed with a 10-7 record. I think they're going to make the postseason.
Your little simulator had the Eagles making it, huh?
Well, look, we got 10,000 simulations from the data nerds on PFF, and then we got one simulation that I did. So between the two of them, I think we're going to get there.
The easiest schedule remaining. That is a huge factor in this. Plus, hey, they've scored over 40 points in 2 out of their last 4 games, over 30 points in 3 out of the last 4. They have kind of found their identity. When you look at that run game, again, just to turn back the clock, and you said, hey, Steve, Sam, what are the Eagles going to look like this season? Yeah, you're going to build around Jalen Hurts, ease him in as a passer, use the run game, take advantage of a really good offensive line. And again, the quarterback adds an element to the run game where you don't even need a great offensive line. You're just winning the numbers game. We saw that on Sunday against the Saints. 7 explosive runs. And look, different types of explosive runs. It was Jalen Hurts on keepers. It was getting the running backs into space. It was little Jason Kelce, who looks like a little linebacker. He's their starting center. He looks like a linebacker out in space making big-time blocks down the field. That is the identity of the Philadelphia Eagles. And look, we made fun of their defense a little bit at times throughout this year, where they were the softest, most bland defense in the NFL, but they're starting to make plays. If you have Darius Slay, with pick sixes and fumble sixes and creating big plays defensively, they're doing a little, they're just tightening up just enough defensively over these last couple weeks. And now, as I mentioned, schedule-wise, they have the New York Giants twice, New York Jets once, the Washington football team twice, and then the Dallas Cowboys the last week of the season. So yeah, Eagles not only trending in the right direction on the field, but also the schedule looks very manageable.
Yeah, I mean, that's a critical part, right? It isn't just the easiest schedule in the NFL, but 5 out of the 6 games they have remaining are within the division. So every game they win is propelling them in the right direction and really making a difference in terms of playoff seeding, in terms of standing within the division. All reasons I think they're really well positioned to do this. And yeah, I looked at their defense for a defensive rankings article I was writing, and I was curious if the uptick had come about because they got a little bit more creative and adventurous and, started doing some more things on defense as opposed to running that bland, vanilla, beige defense that they've been running throughout the season. The answer is no. They haven't really gotten that more creative. They're not using more stunts. They're not mixing up the coverages more. They've just tightened it up a bit, and they've been executing better. And I think ultimately that's the reason you play a defense like that, right? The Colts did this a couple of years ago where it's like, we're not in love with the personnel we have. So the best thing we can do with this group is try and just give them essentially a really Spartan, bare bones set of assignments and execute better than the opposition. And, long term, I don't think that really works. And I think that can only take you so far. But I think it's probably enough to take the Eagles defense from a unit that was really underachieving to one that is actually capable of making a few plays and just dragging itself a little bit up the rankings.
This Thanksgiving, be thankful for family, food, and free bets. That's right, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. They have a Turkey Day no-brainer you can't miss. New customers can bet just $1 in any Thanksgiving game and win $100 in free bets. That's any Thanksgiving NFL game. You have 3 to choose from. And if either team scores a point, you win $100 in free bets. If Sportsbook isn't yet available in your state, you can still get in on the Thanksgiving NFL action. Make your first deposit and you can play for free You can play for millions of dollars for free with DraftKings daily fantasy football contests, and DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet just $1 on any Thanksgiving NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. That's promo code PFF this Thanksgiving at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum, not even a minimum. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yeah, it's another year of relying on that defensive line too, Sam. They have 4 players with over 20 pressures, including Javon Hargrave having a great year rushing the passer. Josh Sweat, Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett. They just continue to win up front for the most part, which does make it a little bit easier covering on the back end. And to your point, they're just executing, playing a little bit better there, in the secondary. So between the schedule and what they're doing offensively, I think they've found their way. And now it turns to, are you a believer in Jalen Hurts, right? Playing this style. I keep saying maybe I underrated his rushing ability a little bit. I've said he's not a dynamic runner.
Right.
Looked pretty dynamic at times on Sunday, right? He makes that thing work because he is a threat, and it eases the burden on him as a passer. And I think he's done a really nice job this year.
Yeah, I do as well. I think earlier in the season, they were asking too much of him, and the entire offense was running through what he was doing. Every play was on his shoulders. And I think now that they've kind of pivoted towards this power, this running attack, this kind of spread to run the ball type of system, and are relying on that offensive line up front, which is like this really interesting group of linemen where they've just got like 4 behemoths and then this like tiny little agile center to make all the move blocks.
Jason.
It's actually like a really, I'm curious if that's actually a way to build an offensive line instead of trying to get either giant bodies or, smaller guys. Mix it up. You have 4 giant bodies and 1 really small guy who can make all the move blocks you need. And that's the way you get the offensive line gelling together. But just relying on that group, you can open up these incredible running lanes. You can make some incredible, complete blocked up plays and get huge amount of rushing success. And then Jalen Hurts' job becomes just so much easier. So this is kind of the offense we thought they would be running heading into the season. And they didn't. And because they didn't, I think Jalen Hurts looked a little bit worse than he should. Now we get to see for, the rest of the season, can he keep taking steps forward, or is sort of this where we plateau? Right now, I think his direction is in the ascendancy, and I'm kind of intrigued at how high he can take this.
Yeah, he's the number 4 rushing grade among all quarterbacks, and he's number 16 as a passer. That's a good combination. I think the most important thing for Hurts, in his 4 starts last year, turnover-worthy plays, 4.6%. That's down to 2.7%. That's one of the lowest percentages in the NFL this year. So Jalen Hurts doing a much better job of taking care of the ball. And then when it comes to the receivers, this was an overhauled receiving core in Philadelphia, and you're starting to see your guy, rookie Devontae Smith, and him really emerging and becoming the player that we were hoping as a top 10 caliber player. So between him, Quez Watkins at times becoming that deep threat, they just locked up Dallas Goedert. Maybe he was probably the best all around tight end on the free agent market. He's going to be their guy going forward. He's got the top receiving grade there. So a lot of positives on this Eagles team. Yeah. And I think, again, just to reiterate, I think they've figured out who they are. They're playing well, and they're set up for success here.
And with a draft class that doesn't look to be stacked full of amazing first-round talented quarterbacks, with question marks over basically every veteran quarterback that could potentially be available in this offseason, if Jalen Hurts continues to move in the right direction, even if it's only incremental baby steps, you might get to the point where the Eagles are prepared to go, all right, let's give this a shot. Let's see what happens if we deploy these 3 first-round picks on players that can help Jalen Hurts and this team move forward. Like if Jalen Hurts can take this team to the playoffs this year, I think the Eagles are going to be very tempted to pivot to that strategy, to say, okay, we don't think that he's Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray right now, but maybe he's good enough that we can win with him if we use all the resources that we built up to build around him.
Especially way back, we did this earlier in the season. We said, is Jalen Hurts the guy? What would you do? I'm I'll stick with my take from that. While he's on a rookie contract, I'm intrigued by that. The three first-round picks. Very intrigued by building around Jalen Hurts. Loving the way the Eagles are trending. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Every time a team is hot, they seem to lose in the NFL. But this week, it's the Eagles. They're going to make the playoffs.